Okay, meeting's recorded.
All right, call to order the Beverages Licensing Authority for May 17th, 2023.
Thank you, Chair. Our first order of business is instructions for virtual hearing and rules of decorum. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay. The city has engaged with community members to co-create a vision for productive, meaningful, and inclusive civic conversations. This vision supports physical and emotional safety for community members, staff and board and commission members, as well as democracy for people of all ages, identities, lived experiences, and political perspectives. More about this vision and the project's community engagement process can be found on our website, which is bouldercolorado.gov. The following are examples of rules of decorum found in the Boulder Revised Code and other guidelines that support this vision. These will be upheld during this meeting. All remarks and testimony shall be limited to matters related to city business. No participant shall make threats or use other forms of intimidation against any person. Obscenity, racial epithets, and other speech and behavior that disrupts or otherwise impedes the ability to conduct the meeting are prohibited. Participants are required to sign up to speak using the name they are commonly known by, and individuals must display their whole name before being allowed to speak online. Currently, only audio testimony is permitted online, and that is for public comment. All right. Next on our agenda is roll call. I'll just ask the members to speak their presence out loud. Member Carr?
Member Carr present.
Member Califano?
Member Califano present.
And Member Roberts?
Member Roberts present.
Thank you. And Member Absalom did let me know that he will be a little late to this meeting, so he'll be here. I'll keep an eye out for him. Next is approval of Beverage Licensing Authority minutes from April 19th, 2023.
Did any members have any edits to this or adjustments? Not seeing any. Is there a motion?
Member Carr will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Member Califano will second. All in favor say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Minutes approved.
Thank you. Next, we have hearing agenda issues from licensing clerk. I don't believe that we have any issues for today. We'll have some matters to discuss when it's matters from licensing clerk, but no issues. And agenda item 2 is matters from Boulder Police Department. And I do see that Officer Denning is here if he has anything.
Hello. I don't have anything for the group today. Apologize for not being at the last meeting. If anybody has any questions or issues they want to bring up, happy to entertain those.
I have a quick question. I think you've started doing compliance checks again. Is that correct?
Yes, we have the one operative that we have active was also a college student. And so we're trying to work around their new availability given their employment for the summer elsewhere. So, but we're trying to cultivate new operatives as well as utilize the states when we can, but they're that's not always a sure thing.
Great, thank you so much. Are there any other questions from the board? Not seeing any. All right, well, thank you, Officer Denning.
Okay, I will be here.
Thanks, Officer Denning. Next, we have matters from Responsible Association of Retailers. I don't see that Nathan Dewey is with us right now. Mr. Dewey, if you're in the attendees, like the little waiting room, can you please just raise your hand for me? I don't see that he's raising his hand, so I'll keep an eye out. If he jumps in later, then I'll let you guys know. Okay. Next, we have agenda item 4, general public comments for future beverage licensing authority hearings. If you are here to make general public comments, so something that's not included on the agenda, please go ahead and raise your hand. Not seeing any. Last call. If you're here for general public comments, so something that's not on the agenda, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Chair, are you okay to move on? Great.
We're good.
Next, we have agenda item 5, and that is continued public hearing and consideration of an application filed on February 15th, 2023 from Pinko Corporation, DBA Chicken on the Hill, 1215 13th Street, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. Duong Phi Liu, owner and registered manager, with the business mailing address of 1119 13th Street, Boulder, Colorado, 80302 for renewal of a hotel restaurant type liquor license. If you're here to give testimony about this item, Chicken on the Hill, please go ahead and raise your hand so I can promote you. All right. And I see one person has raised their hand. If you're here to give testimony about this, raise your hand.
Hello.
Okay. And I see Duong Liu. Are you represented by an attorney, or will there be anyone else giving testimony with you?
No, ma'am, it's just myself.
Okay, do you have video capabilities?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I will swear you in, and then I'll hand it over to the chair. If you'll just raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is true and correct?
Yes.
And do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days before this hearing?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll hand it over.
All right. And since you're not represented by an attorney, I'm going to go ahead and read the procedures into the record.
Yes, sir.
All right. This is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of Pinko Corporation, doing business as Chicken on the Hill, for a renewal of a hotel restaurant type liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder. The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable this authority to make the findings and to reach the conclusions required be made by state law as to whether or not the license shall be renewed. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood affected by the license as previously determined by the authority, and the owners and managers of businesses located within the neighborhood. This hearing shall be limited to questions of whether there is good cause to renew this license as set forth in the notice hearing dated May 17th, 2023. A record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any conflict of interest from any of the members on the board for this agenda item? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Great. And is there any conflict of interest from any of the board members? There, Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
All right. And is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right. You may proceed now. If you could just give us a little rundown of why this filing was late, as well as not picking up the posting materials last month.
Hey, so this was late because it was emailed us. This email was sent to us to our previous attorney, and they did not notify us that we had an email coming in to renew our liquor license. I myself was calling around City Boulder to track down if I can get this package so I can pay the fees, do all the applications, and get it on time. Unfortunately, I was 2 days late. I was speaking to Mr. John. I explained everything to him as well. He sent over the previous email that they was sent to our previous attorney. So I asked him to update our email in there, take that email out. We take full responsibility for that. That is my fault. It will never happen again. For last month poster that we forgot to pick up, I did not know. I did not read the email fully. We were just gotten too busy keeping things around, running things around, and that will never happen again. I'll definitely be on time.
Caitlin, would this city sales tax approve this license at this point?
Thank you. City sales tax would not approve at this point. City occupation tax would approve.
So it doesn't look like you're up to date on your city sales tax.
Gotcha. I will check on that ASAP.
Okay. And what are you planning to do in the future to prevent this from happening?
I would write it down on my calendar 3 days ahead, and I will get it done before it's even due.
Okay. Christiana, I have a question for you real quick. Are we able to approve a renewal with the stipulation that sales tax has to be paid in full?
Yeah, I think that's a fair condition to impose, and I think you are able to do that if the board would like to.
Okay, before we get to that, are there any other questions from the board?
Yeah, can you explain, you said that just things got really busy, so only giving yourself a 3-day lead time to renew, do you think that that's an adequate amount of time?
Yes, it was just last month. Our personal, my daughter, she underwent some surgery, so we it was just a little hard for us.
And I'm curious, do you have a new attorney, and have you provided that attorney's contact information to the city?
No, sir.
No to the attorney or
No.
to the contact?
I'm sorry. No to no. We do not have a new attorney.
Okay, understood.
Sir.
And I guess just as a follow-up, like, do you plan on getting a new attorney? And the only reason I'm asking is just to make sure that you're providing any new business contact information to the city.
No, sir. No, we are not looking forward to hire a new attorney.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? All right, at this point, we'll close for deliberation. Is there any discussion on this? I would make the motion to approve this with the stipulation that sales tax is approved, so that if the taxes are not paid in full immediately, then the license won't be renewed.
Yeah, I would second that motion as well. Or I'm sorry, were you making a motion? I didn't know if you were making a motion.
Yeah, that's my
there.
motion.
Okay, yeah, then I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Okay, so the renewal is approved with the stipulation that you pay your sales taxes in full.
Sir. Understood.
And then I would also like to, would it be possible to have them report back to us, not necessarily attend next month's hearing, but report back to us about sales tax for this location?
Yes, sir.
All right, so either Caitlin or John will be in touch with you and we'll get a report on that, so.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
I'll put that on the agenda to let you know.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have agenda item 6, public hearing and consideration of an application filed on March 7th, 2023 from Rusty's 2 LLC DBA The Rusty Melon, 6525 Gun Park Drive, Boulder, Colorado 80301. Justine Greenlee, co-owner, and Rusty Greenlee, co-owner and registered manager, with the business mailing address of PO Box 51, LaPorte, Colorado 80535 for renewal of a hotel restaurant type liquor license. And I see that we have 2 hands raised here. If you are here to speak on this matter, please raise your hand if you haven't already. And I'm promoting them to panelists so they can use their camera. Okay, I see that we have Rusty and then we have another person with DWC as their Zoom name. If you can unmute and turn on your camera.
Yes, this is Dan Carr. I'm Mr. Greenlee's attorney.
Hi, Mr. Carr. And Rusty, I see that you're present. Are you the only one that's going to be giving testimony?
I think Mr. Greenlee is present with his wife, Justin, who's the other person that you can see in that video.
Okay. If you're both going to be giving testimony, I'll swear you in first. So if you'll raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is true and correct?
Yes.
Thank you. And do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days before this hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. And I'll hand it over to the chair and Mr. Carr.
Mr.
Our
Carr,
volume is so low right now. I'm trying to figure out how to.
Mr. Carr, can we get your
There we
attorney?
go.
Sure. Yeah, for the record, Daniel W. Carr, registration number 8224 with the law firm of Dill Carr, Stonebreaker and Hutchings. I am appearing on behalf of the licensee, and I would anticipate that the only person other than myself to speak would probably be Rusty, although the co-owner of the business, Justine, is with him in that particular video that you can see.
And since you're represented by counsel, would you be willing to waive the readings of the procedures into the record?
Yes.
Great. And is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any members on the board? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
And is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Carr, you may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Matter comes on based upon a renewal, and my understanding is, at least based upon my viewing of the record, that renewal was filed on time and done appropriately. I've not had the privilege of appearing in front of you guys in a while, but I will note that Mr. Carr is not related in any fashion as far as I know, despite sharing the same last name, but that's a good thing, sharing that last name. So, and not being related is also a good thing at this point in time. With regards to this particular matter, I mean, I think there's only one thing to discuss. As you're probably aware by checking your records, this particular restaurant has not had any violations of any nature. The reason this came up for renewal, although it's not specified, I'm certain is because Mr. Greenlee was charged criminally, actually in Boulder County. And part of that charge was a DUI, which obviously would cause concern. I can tell you that yesterday we appeared in front of the board in Erie because he also has a restaurant license there as well, along with his wife, who is the half owner of the business. The authority in Erie did approve his renewal there because it came up at the same time. With regards to Rusty, I mean, I think it's very important that you know what he's done to improve himself. As I indicated, he was charged with a DUI. He has completed everything that was required of him through the court system. I do that kind of work as well. So I can tell you, having that accomplished by this point in time is truly shows that he put his nose to the grindstone to get it done. The other thing that's of importance, I think, to you and was important to me is that Rusty recently earned his 18-month chip from AA. He continues to go there. He sees it as a great item of support. If you asked him right now, I'm sure he would take 3 coins out of his pocket, showing his 6-month, 12-month, and 18-month chip. If you were to speak to Justine, The interesting piece of that is Justine is actually the one who turned him in. She called the police and indicated that he was driving and shouldn't be driving, which obviously, at least when that happened, caused a little bit of a rocky road. But they would both tell you now that it was the best decision she could ever make and the best thing that could happen to them, not only as a couple, but as business partners. As you're probably aware, if you have any involvement in this particular area of anybody's life, there comes a point in time where somebody who suffers from this particular condition or disease, depending upon how you want to put it, has to reach a point where they themselves want that help, to get that help and to get it done. Rusty obviously hit that point 18 months ago. He's been 18 months sober. He's doing a great job. He runs a great restaurant along with his wife. As I've indicated, they have no issues with the liquor authority from day one. They've also had no issues in Erie from day one with that particular restaurant as well, that also holds a liquor license. So I would ask you to, ask him any questions that you would like, either he or Justine, but I would ask that you assist them to continue down the path that they've started and not derail that in some fashion, but let them move forward with a product that they've been providing to everybody, and in a very proper fashion, and allow them to continue on down that road. But they're available for any questions you might have, or I'm available to answer any additional questions you might have of me.
Great, thank you for that. Just for the record, I'd like to acknowledge that a member Absalom has joined us. Are there any questions from the board? I just have to say congratulations on 18 months. That's a huge achievement.
Yes, I had one question. As I was, noticing here, some of the things that Rusty, you've done to overcome this situation. There was one thing, number 8 was 60 hours of community service that was supposed to be completed by 3/31/23. Has that been completed?
Oh, yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm 100% complete.
Thanks.
Any other questions from the board?
For the record, city licensing will just let you know that sales tax and occupation tax are approved for this application as well.
Great, thank you. Not seeing any. Mr. Carr, is there anything else did you have one, Leah?
Yeah, I was just looking through some of the paperwork, and as of 3/5/23, tips training hadn't taken place. Is that accurate? Or what's going on with that?
When I filled out the paperwork, that was my part. I didn't realize that we had gone back to in training. So since then, and I thought I had sent everything over, but we had done in class training up or through like something like this, like a webinar, and everyone has been completed. So most of my staff now holds tips and the certification through the alcohol beverage training up in Johnstown.
Do we need those records? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I will send them. I thought I sent them over, but I'll resend them.
If you wouldn't mind resending them, Justine, that'd be great. Thank
Of course.
you.
And we can get those entered and on the record as an exhibit. All right, there any other questions? All right, Mr. Carr, is there anything else you'd like to present?
Nothing further, thank you.
All right, at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there a discussion, motion?
Member Absalom will abstain because I entered a little bit after the beginning of this, and I'll leave it at that.
Member Califano would move to make a motion to approve this renewal.
Member Carr will second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom abstain.
All right, well, we've got three that said yes to this renewal, so renewal is approved.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Come see us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second while I put everyone where they're supposed to be. Okay. Next, we have agenda item 7, which is public hearing and consideration of an application filed on March 14th, 2023 from Mustard's Last Stand Inc., DBA Mustard's Last Stand 1719 Broadway, Boulder, Colorado 80302. Daniel Povlin, co-owner, president and registered manager, Harvey Lindenberg, co-owner, and Sharon Woodworth, treasurer, with the premise business mailing address for a permanent modification of a beer and wine type liquor license. And I see that Ms. Vecchio is here. And if anyone else is here to give comment on this item, please raise your hand so I can promote you. Okay, and they're being promoted to panelists. It looks like I have Veronica Vecchio and Dan Boblin for this item. And do we expect anyone else will be appearing?
Yes, hi, this is Veronica Vecchio from Laszlo Law. Dan Pullivan's here and present as well.
Perfect. And Dan, will you be giving testimony to this item? I'm gonna ask you to unmute. There you go.
Yes.
Okay, great. If you'll just raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is true and correct?
Yes.
And do you swear or affirm that that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days prior to the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I'll hand it over to the chair and Ms. Vecchio.
Ms. Vecchio, can we get your attorney ID number?
Yes, it's 37225.
Great. And since you're represented by counsel, I'd ask if you'd be willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record.
Yes, we're willing to waive.
Great. And is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any of the board members? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Member Absalom, no.
All right. And is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Ms. Vecchio, you may proceed.
Thank you. And as I previously stated, my name is Veronica Vecchio from Laszlo Law, our number 37225, representing Mustard's Last Stand for its application for a permanent modification to its beer and wine liquor license. And I would like to call Dan Pullivan as my first witness. Mr. Pullivan, if you could state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Dan Pullivan, P-O-L-O-V-I-N,
And what is your home address?
304 Balsam Avenue, Boulder, Colorado.
Do you personally consume alcoholic beverages?
Some, yes.
And how long has Mustard's Last Stand been operating?
Since 1978.
And how did you learn that you needed to submit an application for a modification to your liquor license?
I received a letter from the licensing board and was told that there was an inspection done and we were serving alcohol on our patio.
Okay, so how long have you had a liquor license at Mustard's Last Stand?
Since 1978.
Okay, and when you received the notice letter, what did you do in response?
I talked to, gathered some old applications and contacted Kristen Shangris and my attorney.
And what did you learn?
I learned that the patio was, even though the patio was there in 1978 and it was on our original diagrams, it wasn't included in our license.
Okay. And just to give a little more background on who you are and the restaurant itself, what kind of experience do you personally have in providing food service?
Oh, I've been owner operator since 1978. So I have 45 years of experience behind we're counter service, so running a counter service restaurant.
Okay. And how would you describe the restaurant and what kind of patrons do you typically serve?
It's a fast casual restaurant, counter service. 7, in the dining room is small dining room, 28 seats. So, and we're pretty accessible to the dining room.
And what type of drinks do you offer?
Until very recently, we only offered beer for 4 beers. Now we just tried to add some canned wine about a month ago.
And what percentage of sales do you estimate is food to alcohol?
1/2 of 1%.
Is alcohol, the rest is food. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
1/2% of alcohol to food.
Okay. And so the purpose of this modification then is to add that existing patio to your license, is that right?
That is correct.
And what is the seating capacity for the restaurant inside and then outside?
28 seats inside, approximately 22 outside. There are picnic tables outside. 5 picnic tables outside.
And how do you control alcohol on the premises?
Since we're counter service, it's mostly visual. We are able to see anybody drinking alcohol, and it's not a big 1/2 of 1% is not a big amount of alcohol being served.
Do you have a fence on the premises?
We have a railing on the patio, and if that's what you're asking about, and it runs the whole length of the patio.
Okay. What kind of training do you provide for your employees when with regard to service and sale of alcohol?
We require the people that we allow to serve alcohol. We don't allow everyone to serve alcohol. People we do allow take tips classes.
Okay. And what types of ID do you accept when you're IDing people for service?
Driver's license, photo driver's license, military IDs with photos, passports. That's pretty much it.
Okay. And what are the consequences for an employee who serves somebody who's underage?
We would stop allowing them to serve and then retrain them and make sure that I think it's happened once in 30 years. So.
Okay. And did you conduct a survey of the neighborhood to determine the neighborhood's needs and desires?
Yeah, we went to surveyed 108 people.
Okay. And who conducted the survey?
David Goodhart.
And who's that?
Director of Operations.
For Mustards?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the initial tally? How many total businesses and restaurants in the neighborhood did you survey?
108, half and half, I think it was.
Okay. And how many were in favor of the modification?
108.
And how many against?
0.
Okay. And based upon your experience with the restaurant and the survey that was conducted, do you believe that the needs and desires of the neighborhood would be met by the modification of this license to include the patio?
Sure.
Okay. I now tender the witness to the authority for questions.
There any questions from the board?
I had a question, Mr. Polovin. So when someone, you said that only certain people are trained to serve alcohol, what happens when someone who isn't trained is asked for a drink?
They refer to one of the people that are, there's always.
So the second someone
People
asks,
that are full-time people, the people that I don't necessarily want serving alcohol are the more the 10 to 15 hour people that come and go.
and those people are kind of my concern around responsible alcohol service, because those people aren't trained. And I would just wonder if they have at least some sort of training to know that they have to get that to someone else. I don't know what sort of systems are in place there is what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, they all know it. They're all very clear that they can't. Typically whoever's working our cash register is the person that serves drinks. If they're working the cash register, they know if they're not, I mean, I have 14 employees right now, I think seven of them have taken tips classes. So out of the 300 hours a week, we got probably 200 hours people working that are tips trained. So there's always someone for them to ask, and they always do.
Okay, great. I would like just to see, the training in place to make sure that we can see that that is happening. That's still a third of the time of people who are not trained with alcohol service dealing with someone who's asking for alcohol. So I think it's just something important to put on your radar. It's easy to get kind of tricked by someone trying to get alcohol. So other than that, I don't have any other questions.
I had a question. I didn't see any tips training certifications in the packet here. Do we have those on file?
So with it being a modification, we could submit, whatever you're requesting, but we haven't submitted updated tip certification patio modification because he does have an active license.
Understood. Okay.
My renewal is due actually as coincides, so that they will be submitted in the next. I think it's due in June, so they'll be submitted with the renewal.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. Ms. Vecchio, is there anything else you'd like to present?
I have nothing further, just a final statement that based upon Mr. Polovin's extensive experience and the neighborhood survey, we do request the permanent modification to add the patio to the liquor license be approved.
All right, at this point, we will close for deliberation. Is there any discussion about this permanent modification? Any motions?
Member Carr will make a motion to approve.
There a second?
Member Roberts will second.
Great. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
All right, permanent modification has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Give me a second while I make. All right. Next we have agenda item 8, which is public hearing and consideration of an application filed on March 29th, 2023 from Lance LLC, DBA Art Gallery and Wine Bar, 2027 and 2035 Broadway, Boulder, Colorado, 80302. Rob Lance, managing member with the premise business mailing address for a permanent modification of a beer and wine type liquor license. And if you are present to give testimony on this matter, please raise your hand. See, Mr. Lance is here. We'll wait for Mr. Lance to get in here. Okay, great. And Mr. Lance, will you be the only person appearing today?
Yes.
Okay, great. And if you'll just raise your right hand for me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is true and correct?
Yes.
And do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days before the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll hand it over to the chair.
Great. And since you're not represented by counsel today, I'm going to go ahead and read the procedures into the record.
Okay.
All right. This is a public hearing before the Beverage Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder to determine whether or not the application of applicant Lance LLC doing business as Gallery and Wine Bar for a permanent modification of a beer and wine type liquor license shall be granted or denied. This hearing is conducted pursuant to the laws of the state of Colorado and the rules of the Beverages Licensing Authority of the City of Boulder. The purpose of this hearing is to receive information, data, and testimony by interested parties in order to enable the authority to make the findings and to reach conclusions required to be made by state law as to whether or not the premise may be altered. Interested parties are the applicant, residents of the neighborhood affected by the license as previously determined by the authority, and the owners and managers of businesses located in the neighborhood under consideration. The record is being made of these proceedings. Those who desire to be heard shall identify themselves by stating their name, spelling their last name, and stating their pertinent address. They shall also be sworn in by the board secretary. Is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any members on the board? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Absalom, no.
All right, is there anybody here that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Lance, you may proceed.
Sure. Yeah, so we've had our gallery now for 4 years. A couple years ago, we added the wine bar and converted our gallery liquor license to a beer and wine liquor license. Now we'd like to, well, we've taken a space downstairs below the gallery and the wine bar, which we want to do some classroom space, offer it to artists to do classrooms for the community. Also, we want to do some like paint and sip, kind of like little party, classes down there as well. So we'd like to extend beer and wine service to the downstairs area.
All right, are there anything else you want to present? Are there any questions from the board? Not seeing any.
I guess I had a question, Mr. Lance, is how do you ensure that the people who are involved in these classes are down there are all of drinking age?
Yeah, well, whenever we're serving down there, we will have a staff member that is TIPS trained. Most of the time, it's going to be one of our staff is the instructor. So that'll be real easy. And we have every one of our staff gets TIPS trained. So, and then if it's an artist performing the class and they want liquor service or beer and wine service, then we'll have a staff member down there.
Are there any other questions? Not seeing any. Mr. Lance, is there anything else you'd like to present before we close for deliberation?
No, not really. One just kind of general thing, the whole canvassing piece. I was just curious if there's anything that like in the horizon where downtown would just have a blanket needs and wants for the community. It seems like overkill to have every business down here do canvassing. Just curious on that.
I think Ms. Witt could speak to it, but inside of the BLA rules of procedure, it states that every single license does need to provide needs and desires for that specific license. And although it's the same space, your license is not the same as other licenses.
Yeah.
So it's in the rules. Something
Yeah.
that you certainly could bring to council and something that we could discuss at a retreat of ours moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems, yeah, I'll bring that up in the proper forum. So great. Thank you.
All right, great. So at this point, we'll close for deliberation. Is there discussion or a motion?
I see that.
I do see that Christiana has her hand up.
I just wanted to make a quick note for the board that canvassing is a requirement under state law. So happy to discuss further as needed when you guys want to, if you want to, but I wanted to note that.
Thank you for that. All right, so deliberation, is there a motion, discussion?
I'll make a
Member-
motion. Oh,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Member Califano would second. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member
Member
Roberts.
Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
All right, modification approved.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have agenda item 9, public hearing and consideration of an application filed on March 24th, 2023 from Gari LLC, DBA Busabatai, 4800 Baseline Road, Boulder, Colorado, 80303. Shikar Pokral, co-owner, Netra Pokral, co-owner, and Saban Gali, co-owner and registered manager, with their premise business mailing address for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license. If you're here to give testimony about this matter, please go ahead and use the raise hand function, and I'll promote you to panelist so you can turn on your camera. Okay, I got quite a few people in here, so I believe Mr. Chin should be appearing as their attorney.
Turn the video.
There you go, I see it. Okay, and Mr. Chin, who will be appearing giving testimony for this?
I apologize. Can you say
Who
it
will
again?
be giving testimony for this matter?
Mr. Pockrell, the owner of, or part owner of Buzabotai, will be giving testimony. And also, I believe it's Sylvia Semino of Liquor Pros, who did the surveying for this case. And I don't actually see her.
I see Ms. Gerritsen is here, so awesome.
Oh, Eva. Okay, Eva Garrison. I don't see. Oh, I see. Okay, great.
Perfect. So Eva and Shikar, if you'll just raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is true and correct?
I do.
I do.
Awesome. And then do you swear or affirm that the premise has been posted for at least 10 days before the hearing?
I do.
Thank you. And I'll hand it over.
All right, Mr. Chin, can we get your attorney number recorded into the record?
Yes, my name is John Chin, and my registration number is 35375, and I'm appearing on behalf of the applicant, Buzabotai.
Great, and since you're represented by counsel, I'd ask if you'd be willing to waive the reading of the procedures into the record.
Yes.
Great. And is there any ex parte communication or conflict of interest from any members on the board? Member Califano, no?
Member Carr, no.
Member Roberts, no.
Member Absalom, no.
And is there anyone here that wishes to speak to this agenda item? If you could please raise your hand. Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Chin, you may proceed.
Okay. We'd like to first call Eva Gerritsen of Liquor Pros, who performed the surveying for this application at issue.
Good afternoon. Would you like me just to go ahead, Mr. Chin, and give my presentation?
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Califano and members of the authority. For the record, my name is Eva Gerritsen. Last name is Garretson. One of the owners of Liquor Licensing Professionals doing business as Liquor Pros. We are a third-party petitioning company conducting needs and desire surveys for both liquor and marijuana licenses throughout the state of Colorado. We were contacted by Busaba Thai, located at 4800 Baseline Road A110. They're in Boulder for their new hotel and restaurant liquor license. We do not guarantee results. We simply provide the survey and the results are what they get. This particular location is located off of Foothills Parkway, right off of Baseline Road in there. Pretty big area. So what we did was we decided to get samples in and around the area from different neighbors, some of them close and then some of them a little bit farther out. Made attempted contacts with 445 business owners, managers, and residents inside the area. Of those, we obtained a total of 120 signatures. 30 were from business owners and managers. All 30 signed in favor at 100%. We then were able to obtain a total of 90 residential signatures. All 90 signed in favor at 100%. We did visit with the owner to find out who they were, the sale and the concept of their license, and we passed that on to the members of the community. If they did have any questions or anything, we invited them to the public hearing to let them know that they could speak on behalf of themselves in there. There are many other licenses of similar type in there. Folks were looking forward to this particular license because there's not a Thai license inside this entire location. So their niche is actually pretty unique in here. Looking at the 120 signatures and all 100 signing in favor at 100%, or 120 signing in favor at 100%, still shows that there's a need and desire and that the existing outlets have not yet met that need. And be happy to answer any questions from the authority.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Gerritsen? Not seeing any. Mr. Chin, you may proceed as well.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the board. So I now call Shekhar Pokral, who's here. Shekhar?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Shekhar Pokral. Last name is spelled as Pokhrel.
And I understand that you are applying for a new hotel and restaurant liquor license. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And what is your current occupation?
I am a restaurateur. I own a couple of Thai restaurants in Boulder County.
Okay. And what is the address of your restaurant business that you stated in your application?
4800 Baseline Road, Unit 810, Boulder, Colorado.
Okay. And what is your position there?
I am the co-owner, so I manage overall health being of the restaurant.
Okay. And how long have you owned Busaba Thai?
Boulder particular location has been 16 months. Now we open on January 19, 2021. actually,
Okay.
2022.
Okay. And just to be clear, your restaurant is open for business currently?
Yes, yes, we are.
Okay. Can you please describe to the board your general background and experience in the restaurant industry, including any special training that you have and or experience in selling and serving alcohol?
Yes, so my experience goes back when I was in college, actually working as a server, where I was TIP certified and working in a Thai restaurant as a server back when going to University Colorado. And then after graduation, I worked as a computer engineer, come back and bought the Thai restaurant. And I do have a liquor license in my Louisville location, where we have a full alcohol license to serve alcohol. That's where I actually kind of exposed back again to serving the alcohol. So I've been in hospitality business for a while now.
Okay. You mentioned that you're TIP certified?
Yes, I was a long time back, but I'm not right now, but I'm
Okay.
planning to do it again with this license.
Okay, good. Have you ever, okay, so you said you have two stores,
Correct.
2 store locations. And let's see. And so you have some experience in uh well, actually, so you have a liquor license right now, currently.
In my Louisville
Your other
location.
store. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Have you ever been found in violation of any liquor license laws?
No,
Okay.
never.
Can you briefly describe the general concept of your restaurant operations? For example, what types of food you serve? What are your business hours?
Yes, so we are a full service Thai restaurant. We serve authentic Thai food. We are open 6 days a week. We are closed on Sunday.
Mhm.
And I have on the Boulder location, I have 10 employees, 5 full-time, 5 part-time, very small location, but quite busy.
Okay. And will you be, are you serving full meals during your regular business hours?
Yes, so our business are actually split. So we open for lunch at 11:30 till 2, where we serve a full meal, and then we reopen for dinner at 4:30 and close at 8:30.
Okay.
And where we do serve the full meal as well.
Okay, so that's let's see, Monday through Saturday.
Saturday, correct. Same
Okay.
hours.
Okay. Do you have any outdoor patios on your premises?
Well, in the Boulder location, yes, we do have outdoor patios, correct?
Yes,
And
I
in
am talking about the
Louisville,
Boulder location.
yes.
Okay, and do you plan to serve alcohol
No,
on
since
the
the
patio?
patio is not enclosed, we are not asking for the patio serving license. We're just gonna restrict it to inside so we can control the sales.
Okay, and who is currently managing the restaurant in Boulder?
General manager, Sabin Goli, manages the day-to-day operation of the business in Boulder location.
Okay. Can you just briefly describe to the board the general neighborhood where your restaurant is located? Maybe give us an idea of the demographics, for example.
Yes, so we are located in 4800 Baseline, which is a shopping complex right next to the grocery store. So our demographic is 70% I see as a senior citizen, senior folks, and the rest 30% mix of the young families and business professionals.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's see. And according to your best estimate, what percentage of your gross income or sales revenues do you anticipate will come from food sales compared to alcohol beverage sales?
I expect it to be between 5 to 10% the max from the alcohol.
From the alcohol sales? Okay.
Correct.
So do you believe that there is a neighborhood need and desire for a liquor license to issue to your restaurant in Boulder?
Yes, I do actually. Ever since we opened, there's no day goes by customer asking if we serve some kind of alcohol.
Okay.
And since I have another restaurant close by 10 minutes drive, they tend to do a takeout from my Boulder location. And whenever they have to dine in, they go to the Louisville location. And they always ask if they can have a beer or wine at my Boulder location, so they don't have to go back and forth.
Okay. Uh, so do you believe that if a liquor license were approved for your Boulder restaurant, that it would it would negatively or adversely affect the health, welfare, or morals of the neighborhood where your restaurant is located?
No, I don't see any negative impact of us having a liquor license. And also previous restaurant that was in the place had a liquor license before as well. And I don't see having us have any negative impact.
Okay, good. Are you aware of any schools within 500 feet of your restaurant?
I am aware of there's a school, but there's nothing within the 500 feet.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Colorado Liquor License Code?
I am.
You are. Okay. Do you have a written policy?
Well, I
or
will have
cer-
written policy once if we get approved today. So I'll have a liquor policy, the code policy on the back wall, so everybody can see.
Okay. What is your basic policy regarding service of alcohol to customers?
Not to serve alcohol anyone less than 21 years of old is, and always check the ID to make sure they are 21, and not to serve the alcohol if they seem intoxicated for any reason.
Okay. Are you familiar with the types of identifications that are acceptable?
I am. Any federally issued ID is fine with like a driver license, passports.
Okay. All right. Okay, so what will be the age requirement for your employees who are allowed to serve alcohol? Is there like a minimum age requirement?
Well, my is actually so 18 and the 21, but if the 18 is there, they have to be supervised by the 21-year-old.
Okay.
Otherwise, they won't be able to. And also planning to have 100% of my servers deep certified before we start selling.
Okay. Will the employees working for your restaurant who are allowed to serve alcohol receive any special type of training or yes?
Yes, since we don't have a license yet, once we approve, then I'm planning to send them all of the servers actually will be working in the restaurant for the deep certification.
Okay. Okay. So are you asking the board to approve your hotel and restaurant liquor license?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Checker.
All right, are there any questions from the board members? I did have one. I like that it was looking over your alcohol policy that was submitted in the packet. You did mention not to serve to anybody that was visibly intoxicated. One thing I think you could add to that to make it more robust is examples of visible intoxication so that it's not subjective and they know what to be looking for in terms of intoxication. So that's just something I would recommend adding. The other thing would be you may want to consider joining the Responsible Association of Retailers or RAR. It's an excellent support for you. They can help you write a better, robust policy regarding alcohol service. And in the instance, should you get a violation, it is considered, being a part of that is considered a mitigating factor. So it's always good to be a part of that.
Thank you for the advice. Can you repeat the RAR? What's the stand for? So you're a little too fast for me.
Yeah, Responsible Association of Retailers.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any other
Pockrell,
questions?
Shekhar,
Yes.
I'll go over that with you later. After
Thank
the
you.
hearing.
Any other questions from the board?
Now, one thing I didn't notice in here was any tips training certifications. So what's the plan for tips training and that process you have in place?
Yes. So as I said, we don't have a license yet. So, but if we get approved, actually, I'm planning to send all my front of the house staff for the tip certification. I visited your website and found a couple that I will reach out to them, either bring them in-house or send my employees to the class, all of them to be certified.
Just to clarify, all of your front of house employees are 18 or older?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
And just to piggyback off that, you'll definitely want to make sure they're tip certified before you start service.
Correct.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. All right, Mr. Chin, is there anything else you'd like to present to us before we close for deliberation?
So yeah, board member Califano. We will definitely we can submit the tip certification after it's completed by the employees, if you so desire.
Yes, we would need those.
Okay. All right.
All right, well, if that's all, we can close for deliberation. Is there discussion or a motion?
This is Member Carr, and I will make a motion to approve the license.
Member Absalom would second.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
All right, license has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay, next we have agenda item 10, which is matters from Assistant City Attorney. And I'll hand it over to Christiana.
Thank you. And I don't have anything for the board today.
But if it's okay with you, I just want to jump in and remind the board that, or just let you guys know, we have some shuffling happening in the city attorney's office. We hired some new attorneys such as Christiana here. And so I will be unfortunately no longer advising the BLA, but Christiana will be. She is wonderful. She advised several different boards, including the town of Leadville. So lots of experience in liquor licensing and working with different boards and commissions. So I know she'll do great. And I'm really looking forward to her leading you guys well. And I will miss you all. It's been really wonderful for the last couple of years to get to know you. You're a wonderful board and I will miss you all. But thank you all for this opportunity. And thanks, Christiana, for taking up the helm.
Thank you, and we will miss you as well.
Thanks, Laurel. Welcome, Christiana.
Yeah, thanks all.
Thank you. Okay, next we have agenda item 11, matters from licensing clerk. We have 3 boundary settings for the June hearing. The first one is ABMG LLC, DBA The Academy, Mapleton Hill, for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license at 2435 4th Street, Boulder, Colorado, 80304. In my little research for suggested boundaries, there was no comparable boundaries for this application. There just wasn't anything close enough. I'm happy to pull it up on a map if you guys want to see and share my screen, or if you've already kind of looked it over, that's fine too.
Share your screen.
Yep. All right, it's this red dot here. And I'm happy to like zoom out or whatever you need.
Yeah, if you could zoom out a bit.
It's an interesting one just with all that open space there. Remember
I-
Colorado? You have an idea on this?
Yeah, I was gonna say I would do Pearl on the south. Can you zoom out a little more? Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe Alpine on the north.
I would go a little further than Alpine just because we're gonna have to do it to city limits on the west side and there's not a whole lot there. So I want to kind of get a better neighborhood. So maybe like Balsam on the north. Actually, I do Canyon on the south, Balsam on the north, and maybe 15th to the right. Or to the east, sorry. That would be my motion.
Okay, I have Canyon on the south, Balsam on the north, 15th to the east. I know there's like open space on the west. I'm not sure how
Just
we.
city limits on the west.
Cool.
Member Absalom will second.
All right.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member
Member
Absalom.
Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, I didn't hear ya.
Member Roberts, aye.
Thank you. Okay, great. Stop sharing there. Okay, the next one we have is Market and Wine LLC, DBA Market and Wine for a new retail liquor store type liquor license at 3303 Bluff Street, Suite RS2, Boulder, Colorado 80301. The suggested boundaries that I found for this would be the Circle K, that's one block like northwest at 299 30th Street. Their boundaries were Iris Avenue to the north, Arapahoe Avenue to the south, 47th Street to the east, and 19th Street to the west. And I have this pulled up if you want to see.
Member Califano would make a motion to approve those.
Member Carr will make an motion. I second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Thank you. And last we have the Mad Hatter LLC, DBA Allison Rose, Mad Hatter on the Hill, for a new hotel restaurant type liquor license application at 1301 Pennsylvania Avenue, Boulder, Colorado 80302. The suggested boundaries I have for this are for Cafe Ion, which is in the same shopping center. It's like in the same little area at 1235 Pennsylvania Avenue. And that is Arapahoe on the north, Baseline on the south, 22nd Street on the east, 22nd Street extended on the east, and 7th Street extended on the west.
Member Califano would move to approve those. We could have done the same as the sink too, because it's right across the street.
Yeah, I kind of go on what's the easiest to find because some of them require a little more research than the other ones.
No worries, it works for me, but yeah, I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion as well.
All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Thank you so much. And the only other things we have for matters from licensing clerk, and I'll have Kristen, so you can jump in at any time, but we did approve, or City Council approved the updates to the BLA rules of procedure. So all the changes to the rules of procedure that you all made at your retreat are now in effect. And that happened on April 20th. And then the last thing that we'll talk about is we just want to make sure there's a quorum for the June meeting. I know that member Califano won't be able to attend because he's taking a training through the city. So If that means that the other 3 members do have to be here in order for there to be quorum. If you believe there's not going to be quorum, if you think you might not be here, let us know so that, you know, we can reschedule or cancel depending on what the situation is.
Member Absalom plans on being around on June 21st.
Member Roberts as well.
And tip member Carr.
Awesome. Okay, great. And if that changes within the month, just let me know so we can kind of go from there. Thank you so much. And last we have members from the chair, matters from the chair and members of the authority.
I don't have anything. Does anybody have anything?
No, just apologize for about being late. But other than that, if no one else has anything, I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Member Califano would second that motion. All in favor, say aye. Member Califano, aye.
Member Absalom, aye.
Member Carr, aye.
Member Roberts, aye.
And we are adjourned at 4:20 p.m.
Thank you. And thanks for bearing with me with this new format. Went pretty smooth. So thanks, guys.
Did great.
Thank
well.
you.
Hi, Laurel.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Laurel, for all your
Thanks, everyone.
service.
Bye, guys. Good to see you all. Good luck with everything.
2. Bye.